Well, hello. You know the routine. Well, hello. How are you? Check in, check in. Let's see some comments. Let's get our hellos in. I don't need these. Why am I wearing these headphones? I've been on so many Zooms and stuff today. I don't know. I just feel comfortable having them on. Hello. Well, hello. Hello, sir. How are you? Welcome. Everybody, come on in. Year. Hold on. Judge, I gotta brush my waves when I go year. You know what I mean? Yo. Well, hello. I made myself a bacon burger dog tonight. Welcome, Jamal. What is going to play you in woke? Yo, how'd yo? I like how you just like slid right in. I like it. Clean. Colleen was a superstar last night on Pencil to Pencil. Keith Knight name checking you. That was pretty cool. Well, hello. What up, Squeeze? How are you? What up, Allie? Reporting for duty. GRD. They do complete my ensemble. That's French for my fit. Hey, Carla, how are you? It's good to see you. Paul Pate, what up? Yeah. Colleen said, throwback to the studio days, laying down tracks in the lab. You know what I mean? Yo, what up, Mark? I love that every time Mark's on, he has a different avatar on his thing. Welcome, guys. Come on in. It's good to see you. Have a seat. My coffee is super hot tonight. So yeah, I gotta get a little comfortable here. How's everybody doing tonight? It's been raining crazy for the past couple of days. I mean, I guess it's the price we pay for having like really beautiful weather the last couple of days before that. Uh-oh. Black Cat 9 Lives. I just quoted Janet Jackson. JRD says, no coffee, herbal tea. Yo, the herbals. Yo, herbals. New tooth tomorrow. Let's all sip a coffee for JRD's new tooth. We're going to have to give that a nickname, too. Squeeze says it's raining sideways in Ringo Land. Yeah, the weather's crazy. Eternity forever. These are like the MVPs of Pencil to Pencil. The MVP 2Ps. You see, I'm pretty good at those. What up, Eternity? Good to see you. JRD says, yeah, thanks. Last thing I need to worry about is a medical thing on Friday the 13th. We got the teetotalers up in here. Caffeine's in the house. Caffeines, you know who you are. You know, oh man, I'm always on the wrong graphic. Where am I? What is this? Coffee break. Caffeines, you know what you are. The friends and regulars, not decaf, of Coffee Break with JN. Hello. Every week we get a little closer and closer to having coffee mugs. So I think it's going to happen. It's going to break. It's going to break. Jenkins, what's up, brother? JJJWO. Jenkins World Order. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Wooter. Oh, Clean's drinking water ice. Yo. You know, it's funny. The Philly accent is always overpronounced. And as I say all the time, Philly is a city of neighborhoods. So there's really not a Philly drawl. There's a lot of connectors depending on where you are. Like, say, if you live in South Philly or North or north up north or down north, depending on where you are in North Philly or the greater Northeast Philly, which some people say is South Philly light. The dialect changes depending where you are. Jenkins, all right, man. You're like an angel. Thanks, man. Yeah, let's talk some shop. That's what's up. You're going to be my hookup. Holla if you hear me. Thanks, man. It's good seeing you, man. Glad to see you on the show. So tonight, why am I wearing these headphones? I had a bunch of Zooms today. I had a very nice workshop with some wonderful kids in a school. I had 2 of those today. I had regular work Zooms. Yesterday, we recorded another Ain't Hard to Tell with Mike Hawthorne. I'm just in front of this thing. We had Pencil to Pencil last night. So it's almost like a habit of putting the cans on now. So nobody's talking back to me. So I don't need that. JRD wants me to translate, not like the Berg where you shop at Ginigal. So in Pittsburgh it's yens, right? Instead of use. I love yens. There's a thing, and I hope I don't get this wrong, but there is either an urban legend or it really happened that the northeastern part of the Philly tried to secede from the rest of the city, and that's why there's like the greater Northeast and all up in there. It's interesting. Allie says they were awesome. Jamar spoke to my students. So grateful. Yeah, we had a great time. Sip a cappuccino for the great students at Alley School. Yeah, I'm drinking a little cappuccino. I had to pull out 100,000 horsepower for the cappuccino tonight. See him swim oceans, fly through space, catch criminals, mighty Adam. It's great to see all you guys. I like the extra boost of eyeballs because I'm starting to put this on our Pencil to Pencil YouTube channel too. So for some of you guys who aren't used to seeing Coffee Break with JN, hello. Yo, what up, Kitty Wong? What I miss? You miss me talking about drinking my cappuccino. Why? Oh, why? MC Light for you. Cappuccino. So yeah, if you're watching on our YouTube joint, you may be asking yourself if this is your first time checking this out, or maybe you came by last night and saw Keith Knight's interview on Pencil to Pencil, and you were like, wait, weren't you on last night? And why are the graphics changed? And where's Mike Manley? Well, this is my show. Coffee Break with JN has a great ID that I'll do in a little bit. We're bougie tonight. Yeah, so bougie with the cappuccino. I might even have to extend the pinky. So I'll just do the ID now just to get it out of the way. I want to get to the point where you guys could just we could do sing along with JN. Coffee Break with JN is watching me drink this coffee to see the jawn, follow the bouncing jawn. I wish my hand could come out the other side like Detective Boogaloo. Watch Jamar Nicholas drink his coffee. That's here. And run his mouth. That's that. And when he's out of coffee, video over. So thanks for joining in, you guys. I hope we have some fun. I don't know what a curvy pink. The curvy pinky is like all out there. What up, Jamal? Carlos says Saturday is turning into my Jamar binge day on Patreon. So do you get caught up on all the stuff? Yeah, I have a lot of Patreon videos, and I think with the addition of It Ain't Hard to Tell, which is the twice monthly, right, El Jamal? Twice monthly or bi-weekly Q&A podcast I do with your friend and mine, Marvel exclusive artist Mike Hawthorne, who we're all really old friends, and we get to answer questions from our patrons. He has a Patreon, I have a Patreon, and both of our patrons get to ask us questions, and then we have a conversation on StreamYard. and then privately send it to all of you. So it's an exclusive world premiere only for you guys. So that happens every other week. And then I'm starting to. Did I put something else on there? I don't put the pencil to pencils on there, but I think I put something else on there. Oh, Ashy Stream. Yo, are you guys down with Ashy Stream? Come on, man. You got to get on a bus. Kenny Wong said, last night was a great episode. BT Dubs, JN. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate that. We had a great talk with Keith Knight. Keith's a spectacular person. And if you've watched Hulu's Woke, that's his show. Watch it again. Watch it another time so we can make sure he gets a second season pickup. Sue says, Caffeine-a-chino. Yo, what up, Jerry Kraft? You know Jerry Kraft, America's Jerry Kraft. Newbery Medal Award-winning Jerry Kraft. Coretta Scott King Award-winning Jerry Kraft. Kirkus Award-winning Jerry Kraft. You've seen his books. And I got to shout out Jerry Kraft tonight because he's eating up the New York Times bestseller list. The #1 Into spot, New Kid in Class Act. Come on, man. I think I even put in one of the replies to your thing on Facebook. I said, come on, Jerry Kraft. When's enough? There's never enough. I love it. Sue said, what's in the coffee mug tonight? Suze, you missed it. I'm drinking a cappuccino. So smooth. JRD says bi-weekly. So this has always been the funny thing with Mike and I. Bi-monthly means every other month, but bi-weekly means every other week. But yeah, I guess I just answered my own question. That seemed to give us problems, though. There you go. Bi-weekly, bi-monthly, every other week, every 2 weeks. I'm gonna tattoo that on my stomach. Speaking of Ashy Stream, Kenny Wong says, you know we down with the ashiness, and you know what I'd use as a GIF to comment on the ashiness. Ashy Larry for the win. Carla says, I really dig the conversation with Mike Hawthorne. Thank you so much. It kind of goes without saying that Mike and I have a really good rapport, and I actually make fun of him on the thing because he's notoriously not good at having interviews with other people besides me. I think it may have been episode 11 where I just kind of cracked on him because I showed this interview of him and Jerry Duggan, who's a writer of Deadpool, during their run. And he just looked so uncomfortable and just like being snarky because he didn't want to be there. Mark says, buy something for crying out loud. Yeah, what are we talking about? You guys are doing. Did I miss something? What are you guys doing? I gotta get caught up. I have no idea what's happening in the chat room. But thanks. But you might be asking yourself, what are you guys talking about with all this Patreon stuff? Well, you can become a patron of mine on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jamar Nicholas, where if you can't get enough of me, if this isn't enough, you can get your inbox flooded with emails from me all week long. Videos, some behind-the-scenes stuff, some traditional tier goodness. And if you come in at the $2 level, you get a GLO. Good looking out to my $2 patrons. Love you lots. Appreciate every one of you guys. Thanks so much for your support. Some of you guys are about to round up, and it's already past the year mark. And I'm cooking up something really special for all you anniversary-ios. So thanks again. Appreciate you. I like it. Bi-monthly, bi-weekly. Buy something for I got it. Nice. Oh, yo, Colleen was doing, that's like nurse language. That's nurse jargon for bi-weekly, bi-monthly, and every other day. Q2 week, all right, Q2 months, QOD, like, so the Q, is that quarter two? Quarter 2 week, quarter 2, or, oh, that's interesting. So you learn something every coffee break. Um, so yeah, like it's funny to think about. Oh, like I actually have a question. Oh no, what's going on? What's up, El Jamal Walton? El Jamal asks, how did you come up with the title for the Jamar Chronicles? Do I have an issue? I have plenty of issues. Hold on, let me look over here real quick. I might have some number ones over here. I got a little stash. Look at this. This is my very first comic book. This is the Jamar Chronicles. My very first self-published comic book. Street date 1998. I had actually drew this in 97, but it took me a while to figure out how to get it printed because in the mid to late 90s, it wasn't easy to get comic books printed because it wasn't a science that everybody knew at that point. So Jamal's asking about the title of the book, how I came up with it. That's great. Well, I don't actually remember. There was a thing where I wanted to I had done a bunch of comic strips. I had done a bunch of weekly comic strips before I came up with the Jamar Chronicles. And a lot of them were for the college newspaper. All my day jobs have always been in academia. So I worked at this college. I was young. And like I was a security desk guy. Kind of like if you guys watched the Pencil to Pencil episode with Mike Oming, and we both talked about having security desk jobs where that was the best incubator for being a comic book artist because you could sit up all night and just draw to keep yourself awake, and two, you're not being interrupted. And if you start your shift at 11 and start working on a page, by the end of your shift, you should have a finished page. It's a pretty good way to make comics. But I was playing around with a couple of formats. I was really into Matt Groening's Life in Hell. I never talked about this. This is interesting. I was really into Life in Hell. I liked the alt news weekly strips. And I thought Groening was a genius. He still is a genius. And I always wanted to do comic strips, but I found myself in a place where I could do bigger format stories. So the people at this college gave me a half a page every week to do a strip. So me and my buddy Patrick, who, if you're familiar with the Jamar Chronicles, is this guy. That's Stan, the street fighting bowler, who my buddy Ben Harvey, who's a beast in the comics game right now. We are working on a real back burner project of doing a kind of like a manga inspired spin-off of Stan, but that's my buddy Patrick. Back when he was a student at the school and I worked there, we started doing a comic strip called The Adventures of Jamar and Patrick, or Patrick and Jamar, whatever. That was the name of the strip. You can, if you don't believe me, it's on my Wikipedia page. So there's a bunch of stuff in here on the chat, but let me just finish the story. So I think we did strips for a semester or 2 semesters. And in that I discovered we had the storyline where myself, Jamar, and Patrick kidnapped Peabody and Sherman from the Bullwinkle cartoons, and we stole the Wayback Machine. And I started playing with time travel there. And there's a really funny strip where we wound up on his pirate ship and they're about to get keel hauled, and we make friends with the pirate captain. And then from there we had we installed the Wayback Machine in the pirate ship, and the whole ship would go through time, and we wound up in the Wild West and all that kind of stuff. But from there, I really got interested in doing this kind of time hopping. I was a big fan of, and Jamal didn't ask any of this, but it's the kind of origin of the strip of the comic. Um, so I got really interested. Some of my favorite things that I never talk about was Back to the Future. Before everybody and their mother was a like catch up fan of Back to the Future. I remember seeing them all in the movies, and after the first one was over, and it was just like there's another one, right? And then that was like there was no news. You couldn't go on the internet and find out spoilers about the next Back to the Future movie. It may or may never happen. I was really into that stuff, and I can't remember what year it was, but I also liked Sliders, that TV show Sliders with a young Jerry O'Connell. And I was always a fan of like that kind of time travel, dimension hopping. And then, because a lot of you guys know that I'm a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, I was also a big TMNT fan. And my best bud, Jim Lawson, who was one of the Ninja Turtles guys, did a lot of artwork in there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game. And one of the supplements was Transdimensional Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Lawson drew this crazy stuff. Like there was this one spot illustration of all the turtles dressed like the Four Musketeers. And there was like all these rules about dimensional travel and building a time machine. And I didn't play the game, but I was so interested in this world building. It started getting the wheels spinning on the Jamar Chronicles. And I just kind of took all these things together and mashed them all together in my head and started making comics. And the logo treatment for this was totally, I loved Akira. And if you ever looked at, all of the trade dress for the Akira books kind of look like this. But the Marvel Epic issues were kind of like quarter covers with Akira really big across the top, and then the bottom part was Otomo's art, and that's a total bite off of that. So there you go. Yeah, I've been after Jim Lawson for years. I was going to buy some of that art off of him, and I think Jim just said it's in a drawer somewhere, or it was like 2 houses ago. It's so good. And if you don't know Jim Lawson's work, you can go look him up. He does like crazy commissions. And he did a couple of books. He's doing his own books now. And even during kind of like the end of Days at Mirage, him and Pete Laird did a series called Space Race, Street Race, something Racers, Space Racers. I have some originals of that, original pages of that. I love Lawson stuff. And I might try to get him on Pencil to Pencil. What are you guys doing tonight? So that's kind of what that happened. That's kind of how that happened. But we could talk more about Jamar Chronicles. Mark says, I remember that issue. Wow. Thank you. Kenny says, how did it feel when you had your hands on that first freshly printed copy? Was it a dream come true? Yeah, it was. And there's like a big story behind this. And this doesn't feel super special, but this is like a 20-something-year-old book. It's a pretty good shape. I couldn't find anybody in Philadelphia who knew how to print comic books in 1997. So my mother was living in Texas, and gave me a reason to go visit her. And I found somebody in Dallas who was a web printer. I think web printing, if you do web printing, you do like circulars. Like say when you get that mess of newspapers in your mailbox from like CVS and Walgreens and your local supermarket, and it's all like on that color newsprint. That's what they put that through a web feeder, a web press. And I basically had to explain how to make comic books to this printer. And what was cool is I got to go to his shop. He had a giant warehouse. Like this was like real stuff. And I brought in a bunch of copies of comic books, and we even like pulled them apart. It's like, okay, saddle stitching, I get that. Okay, what are the spreads, and okay, what's the verso and then in verso and all that stuff. and we kind of like we kind of scienced it. And that guy was the dude that printed these books. When I got the first one, it was really surreal to me. I hadn't thought about distribution. I hadn't thought about how I'm going to get these cases of comics out of my apartment. I just really wanted to make comics, and I drew enough pages in a comic that I could make a comic, and I made a comic. Then I had to do it over again and over again. And that kind of just like catapulted myself into the business that way. After the book came out, I'm like, shit, I guess I got to figure out how to get this out of the house. So I approached Diamond. I got turned down by Diamond. My brand manager was just like, no thanks. I've never been in Diamond, you guys. Wasn't that funny? Probably for other things I've done that weren't under my umbrella, but from that moment, I just figured out I'm going to have to find different ways to get this stuff out. And fast forward 23 years so later, here we are. Paul Pate says, where does everybody get indie comics printed today? I use Comics Wellspring. I think there's so many places. It almost doesn't matter. I hate to say that, but I know Kablam is a spot. I've heard of Comics Wellspring. You guys can talk about that. I'm not exactly sure. I've been kind of out of that game for a while. Eternity says, I used to like Life and Health, speaking of Matt Groening, but it was hard for me to find as a kid. Yeah. And unless you got the collections, which are always a little like underground. Colleen said, what happened to movie night? Back to the Future, never seen it. Sliders, I loved it. Back to the Future is such a cultural touchstone now, and I heard that they just put out a brand new kind of like super DVD set. You should try to sit down and watch it. If you watch the first one, but don't watch it around folded arms, snarky Gen X people. Just like watch it by yourself. And by the time you get to the end of that movie, let me know what you think, and I think you'll fall in love with it. It's evergreen. Yeah, that TMNT stuff was great. Time Cop. I've never seen Time. That's Van Damme, right? Yeah. I think somebody needs to go check with Jerry. Either that or his phone is in his pocket. Oh, Jamal, what up, bro? GURPS. Time Travel Role-Playing Guide is great read for alt reality stories. I got to check that out. But yeah, GURPS was different from Palladium. Palladium did the TMNT stuff. I liked a couple of GURPS supplements because I was a big Marvel superheroes RPG guy, and I was running my own campaign with my buddies, and I would get some of the GURPS supplements just to beef up the world building. Mark says Sliders was mid to late 90s. Yeah, every other season, one of the original cast members left. It's only Rembrandt was still there. I love Sliders. I don't think it really passes the sniff test now, but it had a good heart. And that show that came out not too long ago, what was it called? Timeless, where it was like these time travelers and they had the token black dude. And I was like, how are you going to tell a time travel story with a black guy in it and try to not address that the guy's not safe through more than half of the time stream? Suze, oh, that's so sweet. She says, yo, you got to become a Patreon patron of Jamar's. Dope stuff on there. That's what's up. Thank you so much. Colleen says, the print production story is so great. Loving all this history of your work. Thank you. It's weird to think about it. Like, this stuff sounds like black and white storytelling, but it's just like everything. There's so much of everything now. It kind of makes stories like that seem really kind of innocent because it's like you just had to find stuff. Like I showed it a long time ago on one of the coffee breaks. I had a stack of books on how to make comic books. Not even make comic books, because that wasn't even a thing yet. The biggest books at the time it was a Floppy Comic Book, Dave Sims' Cerebus Guide to Self-Publishing, which was basically a comic book telling you not to self-publish. It was a it was a giant red X on getting into the comic book business, and Sims spent like 22 pages, all text. There's no art, just saying, don't do this. Be smarter with your money. Go do anything else except comics. I had that. I still have that around here somewhere. There were some really early computer coloring comics that came out. One of my Bibles was How to Self-Publish Your Comic Book, that Tony Caputo book. I might be getting the title wrong. And the Lorene Haynes Writer's Guide to Self-Publishing. And there was like, it came out twice, and I bought both of them. There were two versions of that. Bill says, did you frame your rejection letter from Diamond? No. You know, at one point I had a little like soft case of all my rejection letters. I had all my rejection letters from the syndicates when I was trying to do comic strips. Like, you know, it's the iceberg again. Like here's this, but all the stuff underneath is stuff that you guys never saw or never would see or wouldn't know. I hit my head against the syndication wall for a couple of years. I had maybe 2 or 3 failed comic strip ideas that just never went anywhere. A lot of them were like really poorly drawn, as you can almost see me figuring it out in the samples. And it wasn't even, I remember on one of the submission things, I've learned that you had to draw like maybe like a month's worth of strips, which, because that's just like, you know, you're doing that anyway. And I wasn't really so perplexed by doing that much work. But when you do that volume of work, you learn quickly how to build this world, and how, you know, your first drawing of this character looks nothing like the 40th. And then you start to realize that there's a rhythm to your characters, and then, oh, you know what, I don't need to draw this extra thing because the extra thing is just weighing down a character. You start to kind of chop away like a sculptor. You chop away at everything that's not the figure. But the stuff wasn't good, but it was a learning lesson for me. But yeah, I didn't frame any of that stuff. I mean, those are like little parts of failure that I don't really celebrate. Like, they happened and I just moved on from it, but I don't think I threw it away. It's gotta be somewhere. You know what it is somewhere? Here. We are here, and we are here now. And you're watching Coffee Break with JN. I'm JN. What are my nicknames tonight? Just for JRD, Philly Donahue, Black Dick Cavett, the Kevin Bacon of comics, and your internet safe space. Hello. What happens here? Well, I'll tell you. Jamar that's me, drinks his coffee. Tonight we're drinking cappuccino. And I run my mouth. When I'm out of coffee, this video's over. Let's get back to it. Oh, Print Ninja. Yeah, they're good. I had samples from them. I think if you're doing graphic novels, you should try Print Ninja. They're not cheap. So I think, you know, you get what you pay for. What up, Ray Felix? Ray Felix would know. Ask Ray Felix. Mixam.com. Yo, what up, Jacob? What do I do to deserve that very nice statement? Jamar Nicholas is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You're a sweetheart. Thanks for joining us, Jake. I don't really see you around here often, so it's good to see you, bro. Jamal says, I'm Morris Publishing. Ray says, boo for Kablam. He put the kibosh in Kablam. I feel you. El Jamal, and there's like all types of superstars up in Coffee Break. You guys could just talk amongst yourselves. This is almost like a 2020 version of the Indie Cred All-Stars, but you guys don't need me. Like back then, like there weren't a lot of places to get information, and we all needed each other. Now you have Google, and I don't know how sticky that would be now. El Jamal says, when I did Warmageddon Illustrated #1 in 2005, I went to the local printer that does a weekly newspaper. Now I print everything via Amazon. Create space. See, Matt says, Suze loves Back to the Future so much. And JRD will tell you I love Back to the Future because apparently when I wear a vest, I'm trying to save the clock tower. Eternity says, Back to the Future is a classic. I own all 3 films. Yeah, we might have to just hold Colleen in a chair and make her watch that. Dude, you'd like Time Cop. I'll take your word for it. Mark says, I remember seeing Back to the Future when it was first released. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's weird. Like, when did that come out? 84, 5, 6? It's in there somewhere. It was during the rise of Michael J. Fox. And all right, I'll keep my stories in check. But yeah, it was good stuff. JRD feels me. I can confirm that holding the first copy of her first book is a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a drug. Jerry Kraft, man. You okay, bro? Do we need to do a wellness check on you? All right. Eternity said Timeless is the only show that addressed the black issue. Yeah, because they didn't do that in Sliders. There was like a couple of episodes of Sliders where Rembrandt was living his best life. But I think it was always there. I think they just couldn't really put the finger on it. So is Timeless worth checking out? JRD doesn't like it. That's the name of JRD's new TV show, Like Everybody Hates Chris. JRD doesn't like anything. That show was awful. Sadly, I watched it because the token black dude was from Better Off Ted, which had one of the best episodes about racism on network TV in a while, back in the early thousands. There's too much of everything. Nah. Jamal said, do you ever read Cerebus? Yes. And that guide to self-publishing sounds exactly like Sim. I didn't get heavy into it, but I've read a phone book. Jamal says, Morris prints manga, floppies, and GNs. I want to use them. Their quotes are affordable. Hey, you know what? You guys do that. Get back to me. Let me know. I'd love to hear what's new. Because I'd like to address some of that stuff, maybe on one of the podcasts. When I used to do Comic Book Diner with John Gallagher and Rich Faber, this was kind of like, this was our bread and butter, talking about the nuts and bolts of the industry and how technology is changing it like daily. And we talked a lot about printing, digital access, and access to printing, how everything's just gotten a lot easier, but I don't think I think it's easier to get things made. It's not any easier to make things, if that makes sense. Mark says, yeah, there was a learning curve from my experiences in cartooning as well. What? Yeah. Oh, nice, Jerry. Johnny Carson. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like that. I love it. 6 Degrees of Jamar, Philly Donahue. The Arsenio Hall of streaming video comics interview. I don't know. My fingers aren't that long. Let's get busy. Oh, and one of my old comics, if anybody's ever read Asteroid Girl, it was a property I did in between Jamar Chronicles and Detective Boogaloo. I think before I started doing Boogaloo, I did Asteroid Girl. And the premise of Asteroid Girl, it was kind of like my riff on Sailor Moon. And I had spent way too much time in colleges dealing with like smarmy sorority girls and that whole like weird system of college kids. So I put all of these archetypes of college girls together as the defenders of the world. So it's basically what if Sailor Moon was full of a bunch of girls that hated each other's guts and didn't get along, and they would just like argue, and then at the end of every book the villain would blow up the earth, and I just had a static page that I always reinsert in the comics with the earth blowing up. Well, anyway, but in those books, Arsenio Hall was the president. And when times get rough, he uses very long ET figures to call Asteroid Girl. He's like, "We need Asteroid Girl. Let's get busy." I do like Johnny Carson. Thanks, my fact checkers. El Jamal said Back to the Future was 85. Man, where's the time go? Bill says BTTF had that sense of optimism and that bigger than life feel. Right. Sliders was a time travel, was dimension travel. Or alternate, yeah. Like, I like Fringe. Fringe was good. Peter, my son. They just shuttle back and forth between alternate present day Earths. Yeah, and that was a big impetus on the Jamar Chronicles. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah. And also there was a big part of my art development. That was the first project I drew in brush. It was all ink and brush. And that was a challenge to myself. And it was only like, there were mini comics. I was doing mini comics. That was like heavy in my SPX days. And I felt like I needed to have something to go to SPX with. So I was in between Jamar Chronicles. I hadn't done something else. And I was just, I started learning how to color on the computer. So I had and I was really heavy into merch. Like if any of you guys ever met me during SPX, that was kind of like the vibe back then. You had to just have a sexy table with interesting stuff on it. And I don't know, Jamal, if you remember this, but that year I had the Asteroid Girl Space Cadet membership kit. So I had bought one of those little, I don't even know what they're called, like the Polaroids, but they were kind of like this, and you loaded film into it, and it made little tiny sticker Polaroids. Yes, I do, sir. Let's talk. And I had a laminator. I had like a little laminator machine, and I went on one of these party supply stores before people knew they were party supply stores. And I bought a gross of light up jewelry rings. So they almost look like Green Lantern rings, but they're in different colors. So what you got for the kit, I think it was $20, is you got my mini comic, you got your power ring, and then I made Space Cadet membership cards. And I would take your picture and laminate it on the card and give it to you. So I'd love to see if anybody has any Space Cadet cards out there. Check. But yeah, so it's like, oh man, I left this graphic on. Sorry, you guys. But I was always trying to do something interesting, and probably the last interesting thing I did was the Detective Boogaloo Ill Crimes Unit case file, which was something I debuted at San Diego Comic-Con, and Jamal's like the JN Studios expert. That might have been like 2002, 2003, something like that. And I went to San Diego, and that was a big year for me. That was one of the years where I thought I made it. Like if you could think about like steps in your career where things felt like they were opening up. And I was there with Kevin Smith's guys for Movie Poop Shoot because I was doing Detective Boogaloo. And I was at the table with a bunch of people who are like famous now, and Chris Ryall, who was my editor, who was the publisher of IDW for a long time. He's going on to other things. So if any of you guys have the Ill Crimes Unit case file, there's an ill forward by Chris Ryall in there. Don't throw that out. But it was a lot of those guys' first comic book convention. And I remember spending time with Chris showing him how a comic book convention exhibition table worked. And he was like, It was a lot of fun. And then also at that same show, I had a signing schedule. It was great because I was doing Radical and Devil Doll for Image Devil's Due, and I was just feeling real good about stuff. It was cool. But the file folder had the origin story of Detective Boogaloo, like maybe the first 30 strips, and a Manila police folder that I had put those. Have you ever seen a two punch um, clasp thing? I had a two punch hole puncher, and I punched all the the black and white copies and slid them in the thing, closed it, and then I had a rubber stamp for the front that said Ill Crimes Unit with some case numbers on it. And then I put real coffee rings on all of the on all of the folders. It was crazy. So that was a really big thing, and I was really proud of that. And people still ask if I've ever collected Detective Boogaloo. That's been the closest thing. But if I could go back and finish that, or if I get back to Boogaloo, I'd like to do a more substantial version of that. Sorry, guys, I've been running my mouth. Let's talk about other people. Let's talk about a GLO. Good looking out, you guys. To all my patrons who support me every month at the $2 level. Thank you so much. Jamal says 2002 sounds right because that was the year after Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is where Movie Poop Shoot came from. Yeah. And I was cleaning out the basement and I found some really interesting artifacts. There was a Movie Poop Shoot preview book that the guys had printed and made for the conventions, that I found one or two of those, and there's really young Detective Boogaloo things in there. And then some of the other people, Brian Lynch, who is a big Hollywood writer, came from Movie Poop Shoot. Ryan Otley from Invincible, and now he's drawing Spider-Man, was drawing Ted Noodleman, Bicycle Delivery Boy, back then. And I remember the first time I saw Ryan's artwork, I was like, yo, this guy is amazing. And when he kind of appeared doing Invincible, I was like, of course. You know what I said? No wow emojis. I was like, of course he's doing this book. He's incredible. And there were a bunch of other cats. And I feel like I'm dropping names, and I don't mean to. But I just remember that period was like real heavy, because that's when like Kevin Smith was like the dude. And people try to act like Kevin Smith wasn't a big deal, but he was a really big deal then. And, you know, it was a good time, like just kind of hanging out with the View Askew guys and my buddy Ming, who you guys might know from Comic Book Men. Me and Ming used to kick it all the time at the View Askew tables, as he used to run the merchandise for Kevin. There's a whole little cottage industry there. So I'm still glad that those guys are getting their stuff in. JRD said something about bucket hats and it caught my attention. Oh man, setting up new merch on our gift site while we chat. They offer bucket hats. There's nothing worse than a bad bucket hat, I gotta tell you right now. Oh yeah, we said that already. But yeah, I don't know how this turned into a memory lane thing, but you know, I guess when you do stuff for a while and people kind of jump on to the ride at different parts of the journey, right? So I know there's people who just know me because I'm the guy who co-hosts Pencil to Pencil. I think that's why I push so hard with all of the nicknames and stuff. So I've said this before, I don't want people to think that we're just some neckbeards who get to interview some people like we're working cartoonists too. So I always try to push things out. But yeah, like there's a lot of people I know who are just, we're talking about this the other night on Ashy Stream. I need a graphic for Ashy Stream about, you know, there are people who like certain parts of my career. There's, I think probably a lot of my fan base is Detective Boogaloo. And then there's a lot of Fistic Knife Gun people. I think the Leon numbers will grow once, you know, the kids get a hold of it. And I don't want to think that all the Leon fans are kids, because there's good stuff in there for adults too. But and there's lots of Jamar Chronicles fans, so there's always somebody who's waiting for me to do something else. It's very interesting. Jamal says, my friend Victoria did a podcast with Ming. Tell her I said hello to Ming. Oh, right. Ali was a regular on digital webbing. And I think that's how a lot of, and Ed Dukeshire jumped on here last week, I think. That was such a really important hub where you could like find gigs, because they had like a help wanted board where people were actually doing work. A lot of it always turned to smoke, because that's just what indie comics are. But you kind of had to sift through the broken glass, and once in a while you found like some really good stuff where people would actually follow through on what they're doing. JRD says, dude, please, these talks always turn into either memory lane or food. Don't get me started talking about food, because we could totally go there. Jamal said he's still waiting for Jamar Carlos #3. I don't know. I might have to put that on a Patreon. I don't know. If you're the only one supporting it, I don't know. We're going to have to do some sort of campaign. Carla says, I'm a Leon fan. Thank you. It's great to hear that. I don't hear from a lot of Leon fans. I get a lot of love for Leon, but it's rare that somebody says, oh, I love ... or this kid's my favorite character. But, that's going to be heavy in my rotation for the next couple years in my foreseeable future. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff there that people will glom onto. Elgin Mall said, you just said, I know what you meant. I'm still waiting for the Jamar Chronicles 3. I get you. Mark says, one of the things I appreciate about your videos on comics is the variety of subject matter. Thank you. It's not just the superhero genre. Love your interview with Borgman. Thank you. I kind of break things down into, well, we talked about this on the podcast. I'm really sensitive about mixing it up. I think just the inclusion is important, but also like generational things in cartooning is interesting. Like we have younger cartoonists on, we have some of the old timers on, we have people in the middle. There's people who are, old colleagues of Mike Manley's. There's guys that I know. There's people that neither of us know, but we may follow them online. There's people all in between. Right. And I remember we talked to somebody and I was setting up the interview and they were like, you sure you want to talk to me? All you talk to are cartoonists. I was like, no, we try to run the gamut. And I think we're good enough of interviewers that it kind of doesn't matter where they come from. It's not like we're going to go, I don't have anything to say to you because you make movies. You know what I'm saying? All right, now we're getting some Leon love. I love it. Colleen says, I can't believe we made it this long without food. I was trying to avoid it, but we're going there. Carla, I'm a Leon fan too. Love me some Broccoli Rob. Thank you. I'm a big fan of Broccoli Rob. I think he's an underrated villain. He just makes me laugh. And his origin story is so tragic. Oh, Jamal did bring up bacon burger dogs at the very beginning. Denise! Look at my sleeves. It's tucked down to my socks. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. And there's so much more to come with Leon. I'm so excited. I really am. Just being able to kind of share this universe with you, and maybe even the most important thing to me is kind of getting all this out of my head because I live with all this stuff. That's why I do all this stuff. I have to I got to get it out of there. Food is love. Food is love. That's almost a good place to stop, but we have a little bit more to do. So one thing I'll say is a cappuccino doesn't cool well. I'll say that. It's pretty gnarly at the bottom of this mug. So, all right, maybe last call, and my man Jenkins says we're going to work out a coffee mug thing. So I need a raise of hands. Anybody wants a caffeine mug and be willing to put some money down? Say I want a mug. Just type it in. For all of us creatives out there who've tried to make merch, you know how hard it is when you're like, hey guys, you like this design? Or hey, I did this thing, and everybody's like, I'd wear that on a shirt. And you're like, cool. Hey, I made these shirts. Then everybody's like, so like, I don't want to sit on a bunch of stuff. So you guys got to let me know. All right, cool. Kenny says, I just had pasta and you mentioning food is making me hungry. I love it. Look at this as a mug gang. JRD says, coffee break caffeine mug. Yes. I'd like to make 2 mugs. I think there could be a pencil to pencil mug, or maybe there's just like a Jamar centric mug. I think we need a well hello mug. Or maybe that, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Let's see how this goes. And it's funny when you like make that kind of stuff, it winds up being more expensive than you think it needs to be. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying, like, if the mug turns into being like $18, I don't even like $18. The stuff just costs money to produce, Mark, currently between jobs, but sounds like a great idea. I collect mugs. Well, that's sweet, man. I don't want to put you out. Yes, the Jamar universe. Suze wants one too, but I think she's asleep. Don't wake her up. Just let her sleep. She works hard. Mugs for everyone. Mugs for everyone. Cool. This was kind of a very kind of like smooth show, right? And before I wrap it up, I want to. Ooh. That's doable. But you can't get it unless you've met me. We can't have people out there fronting. You got to actually have met me. That's a good idea, Jamal. That's why you get paid the big bucks, bro. I've been thinking about all these things, and it's really hard for me to believe that I'm doing all of these video projects. So I was going to count them down. Oh, no. You get a bug. You get a bug. You get a bug. So I wanted to try to break these down, and maybe you guys could tell me what your favorite thing is. JRD says, I have the I Met Jamar thing on the bottom, like the mug from IT Crowd with Moz. Yeah, Colleen talked about that a little bit. Yeah, your sis wants a mug too, right? So, all right. I don't know how this happened, you guys, but video projects. Pencil to pencil. Coffee break with JN. Right? Ashy Stream. I'm enjoying Ashy Stream. And then behind the Patreon wall, there's It Ain't Hard to Tell with Mike Hawthorne. That nail. Thank You for Having Me with Jamar Nicholas. Jawn with Jamar. And then we have the Jamarchive. And the Jamarchive has old video projects like my Comic Book Diner podcasts or anything in between. So JRD loves the car videos where you get your oat latte. Yeah, it's a card show. I don't know why you guys think those are fun, but I've only done like 2 or 3 of them. Colleen likes It Ain't Hard to Tell. What do you like about It Ain't Hard to Tell? That's one of my favorite things. Oh, wait, hold on, I messed it up. So It Ain't Hard to Tell. Jawn, Thank You for Having Me. Morning Constitutional. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. And the Jamarchives. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. I do enjoy hats. You know, when Jamiroquai, when that guy, what's his name, JC or JD, whatever his name is, he looks like a real plain dude when he's not wearing a funny hat. And I figured that maybe that's just his gimmick because he's got a good head of hair. Good genes, strong genes. So that's That's a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, Eternity on my Patreon. I only did it once, but I think I'm just going to have to do it. I did a video from inside my car after a Dunkin' Donuts run where I was enjoying a oat milk latte. And you have to find your piece where you can find it. Sometimes it's in a parking lot of a Dunkin' Donuts. Jim Lujan, what up, brother? Popping in from Costco. Great show with Keith. Jim, tell us, the last episode of Lars Lazarus is tomorrow, right? You gotta come on and tell us about that. I'll be there. Yeah, wow. How'd that happen? So Eternity, and I want to assume that your favorite is Pencil to Pencil. But I can't know. Anybody else? Anybody have a favorite? And wow, that makes me feel like I really need to not do all those things. That's 8 shows. That's 8 shows. That's wild. But they're all different. And I think that's really interesting too. They're all different. Jamal says the interaction between you and Hawthorne is what makes it Ain't Hard to Tell so good. The love and friendship are there. Yeah, he's a real special dude. And we, just like all of us, like we've all come up together and there's this really weird industry and we're still here, so that means a lot. Are they good? Which good? You lost me. Jim Lujan says tomorrow night is the finale. Thanks, Siri, for the translation. Eternity Forever checks off a Pencil to Pencil. It's pretty even right now, you guys. Kenny Wong says, I can't say because I love Pencil to Pencil and Ain't Hard to Tell and Coffee Break. Colleen says, COVID happened. We're in need of more content. There's never enough content. I am my own content provider. I feel like I'm forgetting something. No? Oh, I'm sorry. Carla's asking about the oat lattes. Are they good? Oh, yes. It was really tasty. But I only get I get a small hot oat milk latte. It's real creamy. It's good. It's good. Thanks, JRD, for saving that. Yeah, you should grab one. I don't put a bunch of crap in my gimmick coffee. I don't really drink gimmick coffee. I'll have a small latte, a small hot latte with nothing, no sugar in there. It's just that. Yeah, go get one. Colleen says, I don't know that oat lattes are good, but watching JN shoot the breeze from his car now you make me feel like I gotta go out in the car and just do a video. All right, you guys, want to wrap this up? This was fun. So what are our takeaways? What are our next action items? I feel like I'm at work closing a meeting. So what's our next action items? Coffee mugs. My good man Brian Jenkins and I are going to talk about making you guys some coffee mugs. I have several people that want coffee mugs. It seems like the caffeine coffee mug seems popular, a popular choice. Maybe I mentioned more mug. the JNN. Welcome to JNN. It's real. The JNN is a thing. Welcome to JNN. I need James, what's the guy, James Earl Jones, to say welcome to JNN. Now, you know what, man, I'm good. Maybe if you pick up a barrel of Cheese Whiz, that'd be good. That's what's up. Yes, coffee mugs. Yes. Yes. All right, we're saying goodnight. Kenny Wong says, I think the caffeines makes the most sense. So we'll start there. We'll start with the caffeines. Coffee break with J and caffeines logo mug. Yes. Okay. El Jamal needs Asteroid Girl art. Anybody else? I'm taking orders. We're gonna get a cheesesteak. Dude, what up, Adam? Dude, we're about to close out. Where you been? Tim Fielder. This is like the second shift. I'm about to go, man. I'm out of coffee. Friends don't let friends drink decaf. Yeah, facts. Colleen said, Pat liked the I Met Jamar mug. He then brought up Ghetto Brittle. Oh. Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. Yo, what up, Tim? Have you been here the whole time? What up, Adam? Buy Punk Taco. Ringo Award-winning graphic novel. All right, you guys. This has been fun. I love the energy. I just had a cheesesteak last night. It was pretty good. Oh, man. We're going to talk about food now. You came in mad late. You know what? I might throw up the watch party. So if I throw up the watch party, maybe I'll see some of you guys in there. I'll just leave it run and I'll come in and out. Speaking of food. All right, you guys. This has been fun. I'll do one more plug for Patreon. If you need more, if you want to watch all 8 of my video things, I don't believe it was 8. I never did the math. That's crazy. You see the jawn down there? Follow the jawn. As a Philadelphian who helped save democracy from my city, you owe me. You owe me. No pressure. All right, cool. So what do we got here? Thank you. Let's say goodbye. Thank you. Come on, man. Where do your allegiances lie? Fistic, knife, gun, coffee. All right. On that note, it's been great, guys. It's good seeing you. Let's say goodbyes. Thanks so much, and I'm gonna take us home. You've been watching Coffee Break with JN. I am JN, your internet best friend and safe space, and also internet panic room. You come to me when you need soothing. You come to me when you need to hear the dulcet tones of a smooth cat that's chilled out on the R&B tip. What happened here? Well, my friends, yo, you got to watch me, Jamar Nicholas, drink coffee and run my mouth. It's almost over, you guys. It's almost over. So now that I'm out of coffee, the video's over. We'll see you on the other side. Take care.